This is Steve with the NSAF, and we are here with Brianna Welch, the creator and facilitator of a flagship coach development program, Coaching the Whole Athlete. Along with her team, she is offering a very in-depth 8-week virtual coaching development program beginning April 22nd, which is designed to ensure that coaches from youth through the elite level can integrate elements of humanistic coaching into their personal coaching approach to effectively support the whole athlete. Brianna, of course, for those who follow high school and college running, she's been an outstanding runner for many years, including as a student athlete at North Shore High School class of 2010 and Duke University, where she earned a BA in public policy. And she went on from there to get her master's in educational leadership from the University of Vermont and has coached at the high school and college level, leading into her development of this game-changing program. So Brianna, let's just start with this. You know, when you meet someone who you're first introducing, coaching the whole athlete, how do you describe it to someone in the most fundamental terms?
Yeah, so I'd say, and I'll touch on a little what you already said, but it's a fully virtual, which I think with COVID, this really helps being able to provide access to it to many different coaches all across the country. But it's a virtual 8-week program. And really the goal is to support coaches in evolving their practice to more effectively support the athlete in all areas of their development. Because for me, and for all coaches, we're really looking to support them on the field, on the track, as well as in their life. And something that I really try to focus on with this program is it touches like 3 main areas that I think some coach development programs may not address, which is we're looking at the underlying and foundational concepts. So what is athlete-centered coaching and why is it important in our athletes' development? But we sort of work through reflective practice and doing this with peers and individually and being able to bring it back to your own experience. And then finally, the most important, I think, is the concrete. So we don't leave you with just discussion and concepts, but we really bring it back to how can you bring this to your athletes? How can you bring it to your team? And what does it really look like to re-envision the coach-athlete relationships through this humanistic lens? So that's a little bit longer, but that's a snapshot of it.
Okay. Well, tell us about how along your journey as a student athlete through high school, college, and then into your graduate studies, that you first became interested in coaching yourself, and then how those ideas you developed began to expand into what is your program now.
Yeah, so this is going to be a bit of a longer one, but because I don't think I actually really knew in high school that I wanted to coach, maybe not even college.
Okay.
I definitely think in terms of my experience as a runner and starting at, I don't know, 6 years old, running has just been core to who I am, and it really shaped my identity and continues to shape like my identity and my character. I think it wasn't until college when I really started to realize that my teammates needed much more support than just what are we doing on the track. And so I was a captain my senior year, and something that I started to do was these one-on-one conversations with my teammates to sort of understand who are you outside of your running? What really gets you going? What is your why? Like that's very important to me to really understand why did they do this? What engages them in it? What keeps them motivated? And also just being someone that they can talk to about things outside of the track. Because I think in college, what was different was this more heightened awareness of feelings of not being enough and different pressures and expectations, because you have an additional layer outside of high school of when you're on scholarship. And I think even with coaches, they have the pressure of winning championships. And so that sort of brings it back to the larger sports culture and like how we need to shift the different values and traditional ways of coaching. So a lot of what this program has grown out of is the idea that the culture and climate we have right now is sort of reinforced by some not as positive values. So traditional coaching really focused more on being technically focused. So the strategy, the tactics, it had very little on interpersonal and interpersonal skills and how important that was to the coach-athlete relationship. It was very much more the coach as expert and the athlete as the passive observer and not really engaging them in their development. and it also was just a bit more, and I'm saying was, but it still is, and this is why we have the program, but more of like a authoritarian approach than a democratic and collaborative approach. So bring it back to how this relates to my experience and my master's as well. So when I went to UVM, I had no clue that I was going to really be focusing this much on coach development. I really wanted to focus on our education system and sort of understanding how we create formal and informal learning environments that can allow our students to thrive, and what we needed to do that. So I was more looking at the education system, but everything overlaps. So I also was talking to the head coach, and I felt like something was missing. I didn't have a lot of people in my life in terms of running. I was still training on my own. And I also missed out on just being a mentor figure to young women in the sport. And from my experience at Duke, I really wanted to look for a way to stay engaged and be able to support these women through their D1 experience, because I knew they needed it. They needed someone to care. They needed someone to be invested, and to sort of just see them as a whole person. And so I asked him if he would allow me to join, and he was very enthusiastic, and that started my time working with UVM. And from there, I basically just evolve the program throughout my time in grad school doing research and also working with the women. I had started with one-on-one conversations. I had started with a preseason athlete profile, and also like a questionnaire to understand, like, where is your confidence at? Where do you feel like you have a voice? Where do you feel the team culture is at? So I had those three elements, and this was 2018. And just from there, I started to learn what humanistic coaching really looks like, and what other things I could bring in to sort of more effectively support them. So yeah, that was over the last 2 years or so. And it got to a point where I was like, I want to share this with other coaches. Like, I love working with athletes. I love that they feel that they can come to me and they feel supported in this way. But I think that we don't have enough of this conversation with coaches as a whole, with the athletic community as a whole. And looking to sort of the national level, like, this is still very new, this idea of athlete-centered coaching and sort of interpersonal. So if you look at like the United States Olympic Committee, it's only been 2017 that they created the quality coaching framework, which is very focused on athlete-centered, being a more transformational coach, and sort of taking into account like your own emotional intelligence and evolving that. So that was like, that's 2017. I know in Europe, they have the I Coach Kids, which also happened 2017. So it's still, it's very early. I know a lot of it, I think, is rolling out of our education system and the focus on social emotional learning, and taking more of a student-centered approach. But we really need to start, I'm very action oriented. So when I went to this conference actually this past summer with the United States Center for Coaching Excellence, I just saw that everyone was like, we have the research, we know this is important, we just need to act. So I'm like, okay, I have the research, I've done this in my own coaching, like, let's do this and bring this to other coaches so they can evolve as well. And I know that's very long-winded, but I have more I could say about that. I just want to pause to see further questions.
I was going to ask you further about experiences you had as a student athlete that inspired your concepts about coaching, and you basically answered that talking about how your proactive actions as a captain and kind of dovetailed into your educational experience and led you to sort of take that into the area of working with athletes, and how your aspirations evolved from these concepts simply being your own personal philosophy to creating something bigger that now really represents a career for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really sort of just
and probably something you didn't really imagine back when you were an undergraduate at Duke.
Yeah, no, I did not picture this path. I definitely, I've always been in the space of like culture transforming initiatives. I created a student organization at Duke. I was really involved with the space of like, so like gender norms, gender identity. I was a women's studies minor, so I was doing a lot in culture work, but also leadership development. So it's sort of, if you look at that, it aligns.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I didn't know I would really be supporting coaches and their development. I also am really invested in sort of understanding the foundational values that can be pervasive through our cultures and climates, and we don't even notice how it's impacting us. And sort of how do we shift those to in a more positive way? Because I think the other thing that's really driven me is being able to have a voice and agency and autonomy as both a student and an athlete. So I'm going to keep talking this as like education and sports because I think they're very closely linked.
Yeah. Okay.
But a lot of what really got me started was this idea that we had a lot of students were engaged, like dropout rates were high, and I started looking into, well, how do we more effectively engage them? And something that's really important is giving them voice and choice and autonomy in their development. One of the things that we talk about during the workshop is this idea of self-determination. So what is really going to help our athletes develop their intrinsic drive? There's 3 basic needs. And if we as coaches can really tap into that, we can help them to feel motivated on their own. So it's autonomy, it's competence, and it's relatedness. And on the outset, it's like, that can be a little confusing. Like, what do you mean? But if you look at them individually, how can I satisfy autonomy? Well, something that like I started doing is having feedback jars for my high school students. And it was anonymous. And I know it's hard to get feedback. I actually just wrote an article about this for coaches, but it's important to be able to give them a space to share and have an opportunity to say, whether it's about training or more just the environment and the team culture, allowing them to have a voice because students, athletes are going to be more engaged, they're going to be more committed, and they're going to be just more motivated if they have a role in their development. That's the same way I run the course. So I mirror what I want my coaches to mirror. In this course, we are very much allowing the coaches to lead the discussion, lead the content, and have ownership in their own growth. Like it's hardly, I probably speak like 5 minutes, the longest length, because they are the ones driving that discussion. Yeah, and what we found with our Nassau County group this past fall was they loved the breakout rooms. They just wanted to hear from their peers. They wanted advice from their peers and they wanted to know how they're handling things. So it very much gives them an opportunity to just share their experience and provide their feedback and have a voice as well. So that's a huge part, the agency.
Looking at your website, it looks like you offer a variety of different services for coaches and athletes, both kind of individually and in group settings, you know, outside of this particular course that we're, you know, mainly talking about here. Can you tell us a little bit about all the different, you know, alternatives that are available to people?
Yeah, so Coaching the Whole Athlete is definitely the flagship, and that's how this sort of all started. But like I said earlier, I really enjoy the relationship with the athletes, and I do miss being in that coaching role. Maybe in the future I can do both, but so right now there are a couple of different things. So there's the one-on-one support that I provide. So with coaches going through the program, I think if you're really following the reflective coaching approach, you're not just going to stop after those 8 weeks. You want to have a process for continuing to reflect and evolve practice. So the one-on-one coaching I do with coaches, and that really helps them to sort of dig a little deeper into these topics and address things as they come up. And then I also have the one-on-one athlete coaching, which is focusing on everything from exploring their athlete identity and identity foreclosure to mental performance, process-oriented thinking. We go into basically anything and everything that's going to either is hindering their performance right now, or what are tools we can do to sort of enhance their performance. And then the last one, I'm actually doing a workshop with University of Vermont, my former team, in a couple of weeks, but doing team workshops. And some of those are more focused on like goal setting, mental training. And this one is really focusing on mental health and athlete identity during COVID, because it's been extremely difficult for athletes right now to sort of roll with the punches and deal with all the different things that come up, not being able to compete. So it's just all the different protocols. So I also really enjoy the team workshops because that, again, is more directly with athletes. So that's the additional on top of the program, the Coaching the Whole Athlete program.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the team that you've assembled around you that's helped you bring this into fruition, the other individuals that help you with the workshop and are part of this whole team that you've got assembled here.
Yeah, so this really started in March, like right around COVID, because I was finishing up my degree. I had this idea for the program, but didn't really know what was going to happen. And I started to create it on my own as a virtual program for holistic athlete development. And as that started to pick up, as I spoke to people in Nassau County mostly, I wanted to find others who were passionate about this and could sort of be like my working group consultants that could come in and sort of help me evolve the program. And so, as I brought up before, the United States Center for Coaching Excellence had a conference last summer. And I just finally saw people that were really excited about this work and were doing great things. And I didn't know any of these people very well. And I just sort of reached out and connected to 3 main people that have been on my advisory board now. And so they serve as my co-facilitators as well. So I have 2 of them are in academia. So Cameron Kiosaglas, he works at Drexel. And he also coached the US Olympic team for rowing, I think 2004 to 2018. I think he's still working with professional athletes. And then Jody Langdon works at Georgia Southern. And then Sarah McQuaid is a performance coach consultant and has her own practice. So they helped to advise. So they reviewed the program when I had created it and helped tweak it and adjust it to be the best that it could be. And they also co-facilitate. So throughout the 8 weeks, they do about 2 or 3 each, and they just bring in their different expertise to just make it that more of a beneficial program.
It seems like it was really important to get other people enrolled with you to support this, people who kind of think the same way and had the same visions. And the fact that one of these coaches you mentioned, with the expertise in rowing kind of leads to another question I had down the line. I think the first inclination is to think of track and field and cross country coaches, but really this is for coaches of any sport, correct?
Oh yeah. Like, I think people may think because my background is track and field, it would be directed towards that. But the other thing is I did every single sport you could think of when I was younger. So I was doing all of that. So it's not just track focused. But really, like during the program in the fall, we had soccer, we had cheerleading, we did have track and field, we had basketball, we had everything. So it's really more these grounding ideas of how we can be a more effective coach. And it doesn't matter what sport you're in, having these tools, having these skills is going to help you evolve and just better support your athletes. So yeah, not only limited to track and field.
And it also seems like, there need to be distinctions, but yet, an overriding philosophy, whether you're working with large groups, whether it's a coach that has 70 athletes on their team, or whether it's a, guy who's working, or a woman who's working with 5 athletes, and then also the age groups, whether it's youth athletes, young AAU or USATF kids, or like a junior Olympic program, or whether it's high school, college, or beyond.
Definitely. So that's a good point, because yes, it is made for every age group, but so I worked with high school coaches in the fall, and now I'm working with USATF youth coaches. And then I'm also talking about working with some college coaches. And the thing is, while, like you said, the foundational ideas are always there, the program is always tweaked to sort of fit their experiences and be able to relate back to what they're doing on the level of coaching that they're doing. Because someone who's like at my alma mater, Duke, and the ACC is very different than a youth coach working with 5 to 10-year-olds. But
Yeah.
I do want to highlight like the two main things that the themes that we focus on is, well, the overarching is humanistic coaching, but when you really look at that, you have a holistic and very personalized approach. So we are looking at the whole person, the whole student athlete, and really taking into account who they are and what's going on in their life, both inside and outside of the sport. So that's one side of it. And then the other side is what we had talked about a little earlier about tapping into their drive, their intrinsic motivation, and really focusing on autonomy supportive coaching. So how do we be more autonomy supportive? And together, those really make a humanistic coaching approach. You're treating them like human beings, you're really giving them the time and care that they need, and you're creating a nurturing environment where they're going to thrive.
And even when you're, 8, 10, 12 years old, you still need an age appropriate level of autonomy in order to really flourish as a student athlete.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like when you think about an athlete-centered approach, there are like 5 main components. And the second one is time, because we know this can be very new to coaches and athletes. And it's going to take athletes time to be okay when their coach asks, like, what do you think we should do? Can I have your feedback? They might sort of freak out at first. So it definitely takes time to adjust. But like even with 8 to 10-year-olds, like I remember playing soccer at that age, if you maybe have part of your practice being you doing the instruction, and to transition to the athlete-centered approach, sort of allowing them to lead it later on in the practice, or starting very small, like with track and field, and having your captains lead like your warm-ups and your drills. Even those small things really allows them to feel included and like they are allowed to be involved in their development. So it obviously needs to adjust, like up to the elite level, it's totally different. Like when I ran for Central Park Track Club, I'm actually still running and competing, but when you're at that level, you definitely have more conversations with your coach, and they still have sometimes the final decision, but it's so much more of a conversation and a back and forth and more collaborative. And that's where we want to see like more of our high school, college athletes at that level, because the goal with the humanistic coaching approach is to be more of a facilitator of learning. And that's sort of where it is hard to share this program with people, because we are very used to the coach in the role as expert. And I think that can be hard to sort of let go of some control. But in the end, it really comes out with more positive outcomes for your athletes, like character development, their life skills, decision-making skills on the field. Like if you're so used to telling your athlete like what they need to do, what's going to happen when they're in the middle of a game or a race and they weren't really, that part of their brain wasn't trained? The problem solving, the decision making, the responsibility. So I think it's new, and people always have some difficulty with change. But I hope people can see that the outcomes for the athletes, the outcome for their relationship with the coach and athlete is totally worth it.
Well, it seems like over time, if you can maintain relationships with these people who've been through the program, they can give you feedback on how this has worked with different age groups, different sports, different size groups, and can help kind of individualize and tailor to a coach's specific needs for their particular sport, age group, and number of athletes.
Definitely. And that's that was something I really wanted to be a part of the program, the feedback piece. Because again, as a reflective coach, you need to hear from people on the outside, whether it's your athletes, your assistant coaches, or your administration. But each week, and we have this for the USATF program as well, the coaches give us feedback on the workshop, and they tell us what we can do better, what we can improve, and what went well. And then at the end of the program, we have like a final assessment of our facilitation. So it really does help us to understand like what we're doing well, what we're missing in these workshops, and be open to evolving it, just as our coaches should be open to evolving their practice when they get on the field. So yeah, that's a huge part of it. We are probably going to be looping back to our fall coaches in the spring to see how things have been going. But the other thing is we end our program with them presenting their coaching philosophy and how they're going to bring it back to their team. So we start to understand for these age groups, like what are they thinking is going to work with their team.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like a lot of these concepts, if not all of these concepts, also extend to, you know, academic relationships with students and teachers and professors too, you know, outside the athletic realm?
100%. I think if anything, I sort of am the backwards of what you just said, because I sort of started thinking about education and use this concept to move towards coaching and bringing these concepts into coaching, because like I don't want to limit myself to coaching either. I did my master's in educational leadership, and I always thought I would be in learning environment, whether it's informal or formal. But I think this same program could be brought to teachers to sort of help them support their students in the classroom. Because as we're seeing, I really think COVID has made this heightened awareness around this, but there are so many other things going on in our students and our athletes' lives, especially in terms of mental health and psychological well-being. And we really need to take an approach that allows them to feel comfortable sharing that with us, because I think we often don't feel like that, whether it's in an education or athletic setting. And that affects our identity. It affects our mental and emotional health. But if you look at any of the research on positive youth development, which is really where this program came from, when you have that person, that mentor, that individual that invests in you, that caring adult, it makes all the difference in your trajectory. So to me, this is almost a program in like relationships and human development. So it can be applied across K through 12. It can be applied in the college setting. But yeah, it's definitely not limited to athletics.
I was interested though, looking at, you know, when I looked over some of your materials, you know, I really understand the gist of, you know, for a lot of student athletes, how important the coach is and their development, even as compared to, you know, other teachers or parents. I mean, that,
Exactly.
you know, when you're so invested in athletics and what you want to do and how that, you know, for a lot of kids can lead to a possible scholarship, those things, you know, the coach becomes important in so many ways to a student athlete's, you know, emotional development and how they perceive themselves. So I can see how,
Yeah. And I think with coaches, I think obviously teachers and parents have a huge role as well, but coaches, I think, have more of that like personalized face time, because as a teacher, you may only have like 40 minutes in a class and you don't have a ton of time with them. But like something that I was able to do when we would have like strength with my college team is go around and speak to each of them individually and be able to check in on them and in a little more depth than I think like maybe teachers could. And then the other thing is just when you're talking about the impact on, sorry, I just had my husband walking. I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. But the environment and the relationship can either be disempowering and reinforce shame and fear and control, or it can be empowering and engage athletes, make them feel like they're capable and competent. There's a lot that to be said about the coach's behavior and how that informs the climate. And I think I don't think, like, I don't blame coaches. I think we just haven't given them the tools and the resources to be knowledgeable about that. Like, it hasn't been the focus. We focus on the X's and O's more than we have on the relationship. And I don't blame them at all. It's just something that we need to sort of tap into more and make more of a focal point in our coach development.
One term I kept seeing looking at your materials is emotional intelligence. And that's something, you know, that, I mean, you can, you know, emotional intelligence applies to almost everything in life and every, you know, government, education, everything, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
I,
neglected, and so, it's neglected unless people really know that they need to focus on that and have that become a part of their life, isn't it?
definitely. Well, because I think, and whenever I talk about this program and these concepts, it's hard to simplify them because I think it's important to understand the greater context. Like you're saying, it's in politics, it's in corporate, it's in all these
Yeah.
places. And it's just really these underlying values. So with emotional intelligence, I read Daniel Goleman maybe 8 years ago. He was one of the creators of the term. Because I was actually thinking about, I was going into HR after graduating and I wanted to change the corporate culture. I was like, we're so focused on like climbing the ladder. We're so focused on management, but what about leadership? And what about developing these skills to really engage our employees and relate to them and create a space where they want to be there and they want to work hard and are cared for. And we don't really have an ethics of care in our in our society because we are founded on ideas of competition and status and just a lot of things that are driven by, I'd say, more economics and capitalism. So
Yeah.
it's just that really drives a lot of, I think, the behavior and the relationships that we see in the workforce, in the classroom, and on the field. And it's really about addressing all of it. Like when I thought about this years ago, it got so overwhelming because I was like, I need to do it all. But then it's really bring it back and how can we sort of just start making steps in one area. And
Yeah.
with emotional
And the
intelligence,
coach-athlete relationship is such a great area to have that because that's so developmental to who we become later in life. It's
yeah,
like starting from the ground up. You're addressing the source of
yeah,
how, what, where people grow from,
yeah.
And if
Well,
you
because
can grow from if you can get this and grow from this, and these kids can get this from their coaches, then they can become better people in those areas.
well, and that's why we need it on that youth level too, because they will get this treatment earlier on. They'll be more confident. They'll have increased self-esteem. They'll be more engaged in the sport. Another issue with youth sports, which is really sad, is there's a statistic that 70% of youth athletes will drop out before the age of 13.
Mm,
And that's really unfortunate. And a lot of it is due to burnout and just the sport not being fun anymore.
yeah.
So this program is not just about, oh, let's have fun and be positive. Like, yes, we do talk about that, but it's how can you sort of understand your athletes, even if they are 8 years old, and understand how to create an environment where they're excited to work hard, but they're also having fun. Like you can still, one thing that I feel like some people miss with this is you can still work your butt off, go to the well and push yourself, but you can enjoy it as well. That's something
Yeah.
that I think we sometimes miss. It doesn't just have to be fun and games. It could be both.
And like you said, you can understand the why within yourself, why you're doing it, and be connected to it in a way that fosters your whole development.
That and the why, I think that is huge for me because I think my last year at Duke, I was sort of losing that. And that is really upsetting to do this all your life and sort of have these negative forces, whether it's outside pressure, expectations, or even your own expectations, and forget why you're doing it and sort of lose the fun in the sport. And I actually, I think I've shared it on my social media. I'm going to share it with the women at UVM, but I wrote a poem my senior year that really it was called Remembering My Why, because, and I get upset looking at it because it's like, this has been a core part of me my entire life. And when you start to forget like why you do it and not why other people want you to do it, it's not about the winning all the time. It's not about these things. It's really what's driving you and why are you doing it? So that is, I think, one of the most important things that I want to get across to athletes as well. Like when I work with them individually or with teams, I think they sort of get upset too because they realize at some point they forgot what got them into it in the first place.
Right.
And
Yeah.
getting back to that is really important.
Well, Brianna, thank you so much for talking with us today. We're really looking forward to, being a part of your program's growth and development and promoting it to folks. I'm gonna share my screen quick here so folks can see your website here, coachingthewholeathlete.com, and you can register for the clinic, which starts April 20th, or the workshop, I should say, which starts April 22nd. There's 2-hour sessions each week through June 10th, and there's an early bird registration special, and the registration deadline, I think it's April 2nd. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. And
And
I can
then,
also, I didn't
go ahead.
realize it would be up, but I can also add the link to the registration on the website. So then people can go right there, because I'm not sure if it will be shared through NSAF or other outlets, but
Yeah, we will be sharing it with you, and also we will be promoting it at our upcoming meet, the NSAF USA Meet of Champions in Myrtle Beach, and we just look forward to a fantastic experience for your clinic and helping to get people enrolled. Is there a limit of 25 participants? That's the thing I was trying to remember and think of.
so that is important, because in order, I feel like, to retain the integrity of the program and really make it personalized and interactive in the way that we do limit to 25 right now. So the first 25 to sign up, and that will be who we have for the program. But I hope people will jump on the opportunity. It's definitely something, like I said earlier on, something growing in coach development in all areas, from youth to the elite level. So I think it's really just about making yourself better for yourself and for your athletes. So I hope people will take advantage.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Brianna. It's great to catch up with you and hear about this program, and we'll look forward to its success.
Yeah, thank you.